What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Macabre'Gorium Labs presents School of Boredom, showcase of things likely forgotten. My name is Mr. Bats, and I'll be your guide today as we explore lesson number 105, Madballs, the grossest toy line of the 1980s.
Warning! The following program contains scenes which may offend some viewers. Others may experience mild discomfort, nagging backache, post-nasal drip, and delirium, followed by rapid heartbeat, swelling of the nose, throat, and abdomen, and loss of facial hair. Repeated viewing of this tape may result in the loss of one's bodily functions, redistribution of facial features, premature baldness, and a difficulty in forming simple sentences. So, if you're seriously considering a rewarding, challenging career as a lawn ornament, this is the show for you.
In an attempt to make this video a little more interesting, we're going to break it down into a few different parts. So without further ado, Part 1, the beginning. Madballs is a series of toy balls from the mid-1980s, 1986 to be exact. These toys were originally created by AmToy, a subsidiary of American Greetings, a company we will showcase again in future lessons. AmToy created a division called Those Characters from Cleveland, or TCFC, to help design toys for their company. You see, in the mid-1980s, a trading card company named Topps created a very strange trading card, and that trading card was the Garbage Pail Kids. It is important to note what Garbage Pail Kids are, as they had a direct influence in not only this lesson, but a handful of others that are coming soon. Now we'll come right back to that in just a moment. Early on, the American Greetings Company was producing toys like Care Bears, Holly Hobby, and Ziggy, along with a few others that were specifically marketed for young females. In a successful attempt to diversify their marketing range, the TCFC was tasked with creating a toy specifically marketed to young males. Semi-unexpectedly, however, this would also become a huge hit with young females.
So, I guess it doesn't matter who you are. We all enjoy a gross toy now and then.
Taking notes from another popular fad of the era, the Garbage Pail Kids, the team quickly went to work on creating some grotesque toys, and they would later become known as Madballs and My Pet Monster. The Garbage Pail Kids is a trading card / sticker collectible that is parodying the very popular dolls known as the Cabbage Patch Kids. Only these kids are far from adorably annoying, but instead were disgusting and gave us hours of jokes and gross out good times.
Not to mention all the making fun of your friends that had the same names as those on the cards.
Madballs would eventually go on to become a national success and a huge fad of the era, not to mention the topic for this very lesson. The original concept for Madballs is based on that of Hot Potato, and there was even an unofficial contest to see who could draw the most grotesque face. The winning designs were some of those used as the original Madballs. Madballs was and is a toy for all ages that consists of various baseball-sized foam rubber balls designed to look like gross monsters or creatures. The original run would span 2 series and a couple of mini-series. Series 1 consisted of Screamin Meamie, which was a screaming baseball with a large tongue. Slobulus Aurelius, a drooling green creature with one eye hanging out and a goofy look on his face. Arg, a one-eyed Frankenstein monster-style creature with stitching all over his face. Hornhead, a horned cyclops with a giant nose ring. Dustbrain, a mummy with rotting teeth and wrinkled teal skin. Oculus Orbis, probably one of the most popular, is a bloodshot eyeball, plain and simple. Skullface, a skull with large eye sockets with teeny tiny red eyes and a big set of exposed teeth. He also has a partially exposed brain. Which brings us to Bash Brain. Bash Brain is a red-skinned zombie with a partially exposed brain. When Madballs were released, they were an instant success and flew off of Toys R Us shelves. For those of you that don't know, Toys R Us was a toys-only toy store that recently closed down here in Washington State. One highly interactive store that actually encouraged parents to let their kids play while they shopped. Madballs originally sold in these stores for $3.99, which made it very easy for kids to convince their parents to buy them for them. But with the popularity of these toys came a fair amount of complications. The first generation was made out of a hard rubber, and that resulted in serious bruising as kids were throwing them at each other. After all, they were balls. Facing possible legal problems from parents of injured children, the material was switched to a softer foam for future series. Another problem that was involved with the first series was that somebody chose the name Crackhead to describe the split-skulled Madball. Now, AmToy may have thought at first that this was a good name, but pretty much as soon as it was released, they did face some backlash.
Now, this backlash was caused because crackhead is a street slang term, usually associated with a description of someone who uses the highly addicting, terrible drug, crack cocaine. Kids, don't smoke crack.
Crack is whack, yo, and you know what? That's probably why they changed his name to Bash Brain. Seemed a little more fitting. Which brings us to the second series of Madballs, which included Snakebait, a forked tongue Gorgon. Freaky Fullback, a mutant American football player. Bruise Brother, an ugly biker with a battered blue helmet. Wolf Breath, a werewolf with large rotten fangs dripping with blood. Fist Face, a severed hand clutching an eyeball. Swine Sucker, an ugly, drooling boar. And finally, Lock Lips, a creature with its jaw locked shut and one eye covered by a riveted metal plate. Next up was Head-Popping Madballs, a posable figure with interchanging heads. That set consisted of Dust Brain, Skullface, Screamin Meamie, Oculus Orbis, Hornhead, Slavulus Aurelius, Bruise Brother, Wolf Breath, and Lock Lips. With all the success Madballs was having, other companies tried to make similar toys. There were the Blurp Balls made by the Ertl Company, Weird Balls by the Mel Appel Company, and Spit Balls by Leonard Toys, but none of them were as widely liked as the Madballs. Unlike other toys of the 1980s, this particular franchise never got the cartoon treatment.
Now, this was surprising, as most toys from the 80s were designed specifically to sell you toys.
However, there are two direct-to-home video releases. One of those was Escape from Orb, a 22-minute in length video released in 1986, was the first, and it featured a girl Madball named Freakella, who looked like the Bride of Frankenstein. Much like other cartoons we have showcased, you guessed it, this one had an awesome theme song as well. Here, let's have a listen.
Great balls of fire, let me love, never thought it was funny. Came along and moved me, honey. I changed my mind, this love is fine. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
The plot for the story was simple. The Madballs are a rock band living on an oppressive planet, and they just want to come to Earth to rock out and enjoy freedom.
Also in 1986, Marvel Comics subsidiary Star Comics released a 3-issue comic book.
The second Madballs video was released in 1987, and it was titled Madballs Gross Jokes. It was also 22 minutes, and had the Madballs performing skits similar to that of Monty Python.
Now, for those of you who don't know what Monty Python is, it was a British comedy group that did sketch comedy. It first aired on BBC in 1969. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet, it's pretty funny.
There was a bi-monthly comic book released in 1987. However, the comic book was canceled after reaching issue number 10. Then later in 1988, a Madballs annual was released by Marvel as a hardback graphic novel. This story centered around the origin of the Madballs and their creator, Dr. Frankenbeans. He attempted to control the Madballs, which results in hilarious antics. The book also included games and activities. In 1988, Ocean Software produced a video game for the 8-bit home computer. It didn't really receive good reviews due to its bird's eye view, however. Flash forward to 2006, where the company Art Asylum partners with American Greetings to bring back the Madballs using the old designs and bringing some new characters to life. Series 1 from Art Asylum Madballs featured 5 original Madballs and 1 new one to add to the line. This consisted of Bashbrain, Hornhead, Repvile, Screamin' Meamie, Skullface, and of course, Slobulus Aurelius. Repvile is a blue, scaly reptile creature which fits in nicely with the other Madballs crew. Basic Fun Incorporated worked on production and selling of the new Madballs, and they were designed by one of the original artists, James Groman. Here in the US, we started to see this fun toy reappear on store shelves around 2007. Art Asylum created Series 2 in 2008, and it included another 5 from the original line with, again, 1 new one. And this set consisted of Dustbrain, Swinesucker, Freaky Fullback, Oculus Orbis, Wolf Breath, and Blackbeard. Blackbeard was an ugly pirate with pus dripping from his eye, an eye patch, a hook holding up his eyelid, and a bandana on top of his head. Series 3 was seen at the Toy Fair in 2009 with new toys, and most of the pictures can still be found online. There was Snakebait, Fistface, and Lock Lips with the new Madballs, Puck Teeth, Nail Biter, and Mosh Pits. Art Asylum also had a 4th series in the works when the 3rd was shown in 2009. There are also pictures of those on the internet. And that means it's time to segue on to Part 2. Part 2. Madballs Lost? This would be the final series designed by Art Asylum, as there was a merger between Basic Fun and Good Stuff Incorporated. Unfortunately,
Madballs was lost by the merger.
But there was another video game released in 2009, Madballs in Babbo Invasion.
And just so you know, you can find gameplay of this game on our partner channel, MGL Plays.
Madballs Babbo Invasion was developed by a company called Playbrains and distributed on Xbox Live Arcade in 2009. It was later released for Microsoft Windows in September of 2009. This game was a shooter with a bird's eye view. You roll your Babbo through a labyrinth-style map, fighting enemies, solving puzzles, and attempting to kill bosses. There are 10 Babbos in total, each with different abilities and stats. This game had mixed reviews from Xbox Live Arcade critics, and the graphics and gameplay were reviewed as good, but the characters annoyed players to no end. Despite all of that, hardcore fans of Madballs liked the game for the most part, myself included. And that means it's time to move on to Part 3. Part 3. Back again. Over the years, there have been many changes to the toy's design in order to keep consumers happy without them feeling that the toy is considered too gross. At the 2015 San Diego Comic-Con, Mondo had some examples of the returning Madballs, but they were now called Mondo Balls. Mondo released Mondo Balls with Skullface, Hornhead, and Slobulus leading the pack. Although they are part of the original Madballs, they have been updated with an amazing amount of detail. The Mondo Balls are affordably priced vinyl ball figures from a variety of genres. Mondo eventually signed a deal with Marvel Comics to bring their characters to life, the first of which being Venom. Future Mondo Ball sets were planned for both Gremlins and the Friday the 13th movies.
Now it is important to know that Mondo Balls are a collectible and they are not a toy to play with.
Now we hop on over to the spring of 2017, where American Greetings and Just Play teamed up to make a kid-friendly line of Madballs. Kid Robot also teamed up with American Greetings and produced a Madballs collection of merchandise to go with the toys. This series also included 16 of the Madballs from the original toy line. Part 4, the wrap-up. Now we're here in 2019, and a lot of us are very happy that Madballs didn't disappear from our lives like most of the toys from our youth. Hopefully, we will always be able to share this disgustingly adorable and cool toy with our children, not to mention play with it ourselves. This also goes to show that some toys can just be timeless and will remain fun no matter what stage of life you are in. Featuring ultra lowbrow humor, slapstick comedy, really bad animation in multiple styles, and set at about 5 frames per second, and puns.
Has the patient been anesthetized?
I can't tell, Doctor. He's out cold.
Oh, the puns. So many puns. You know what? There is no better way, so I'm going to let today's topic go ahead and introduce itself.
The following program contains scenes which may offend some viewers. Others may experience mild discomfort, nagging backache, postnasal drip and delirium, followed by rapid heartbeat, swelling of the nose, throat, and abdomen, and loss of facial hair. Repeated viewing of this tape may result in the loss of one's bodily functions, redistribution of facial features, premature baldness, and a difficulty in forming simple sentences. So, if you're seriously considering a rewarding, challenging career as a lawn ornament, this is the show for you.
Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to the labs. Bats here, and today we're going to dust off one of our old videos. That's right, we're going all the way back to Madballs. That's right, our School of Boredom lesson on Madballs. But don't worry, because this isn't a reboot of that video, it's actually a continuation. There are 2 direct-to-home video releases. The second Madballs video was released in 1987. And it was titled Madballs Gross Jokes. And that brings us to now. We're going to take another look at one of the coolest gross out toys of the 1980s by taking another look at Madballs with Madballs Gross Jokes. So bad, it's funny.
More revolting than Mom's latest casserole. It's Madballs Gross Jokes.
Man, hey, it's fabulous, man. Like, what do you call that green stuff between King Kong's toes? I don't know. What? Slow Madballs. I don't get it. You get it? I got it. Sure.
So we already covered that this was a home video release, and that it was one of 2. The other one being Madballs Escape from Orb. And don't worry, we do have a short video coming up on that one, but today we're going to talk about Madballs Gross Jokes. Commonly known as Madballs Volume 2, this was a direct-to-video home VHS release, coming in at approximately 22 minutes and distributed by High Tops Video. This thing was fast-paced, quickly moving between really bad jokes that were so bad your dad would cringe.
I feel like a pizza.
Yeah, you look like one too, Bash Brain.
Madballs Gross Jokes was directed by Laura Shepard, and some of you might be familiar with her work. She actually has quite a decent list of credits, including, but not limited to, Tales from the Crypt Keeper, The Care Bears, 1988,
Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Babar, and single episodes of Strawberry Shortcake and My Pet Monster.
Oh, don't forget Monster's birthday.
Not to mention, she also directed the Madballs pilot, Escape from Orb, and I will be showcasing that one very soon. The animation for this video was not like any of the previously mentioned titles. In fact, it's kind of hard to pin down exactly what happened with this one. It seems to be a hybrid of several animation and art styles. In my opinion, it almost seems like everyone working on it had their own ideas. And it also seems like each of them made a section of this thing, and it was all patted together in the end, following the theme of gross out parodies. But who else was involved with the Madballs Gross Jokes video? Featuring 9 of the Madball characters, this thing had 7 different actors, featuring Tabora Johnson as Freakarella, Jeffrey Bowes as Screaming Meamie, Jerry Caden as Dusty, John Stalker as both Skullface and Arg, Keith Hampshire as Hornhead, and MGL favorite Dan Hennessy as Slobulus Aurelius. And a brief appearance by Bashbrain, voiced by another MGL favorite, Len Carlson.
Or something. By the way, man, like, how's your job at that tissue factory?
We're on strike. Everybody's going to picket this week.
I hope you don't blow it.
Madballs Gross Jokes contained a series of quick-shot parodies of other programs, almost all of which broke the fourth wall, complete with the characters talking directly to the viewer or people responsible for making the show. Such skits included Slobulus Aurelius Beauty Makeover School.
Makeover School. Hello, my name is Slobulus Aurelius, president of the Slobulus Aurelius Beauty Makeover School.
Name That Smell.
And here's your host, who smells as bad as he looks, Skullface.
Lifestyles of the Poor and Wretched.
The show that takes you behind the scenes for a candid view of life at the very bottom.
And then came what was probably my favorite part of this one, Mr. Hornhead's big musical number.
Wait a minute, I don't know how to sing. Boils and warts and piggy's feet, these are the things that I loves to eat.
I actually had a copy of this one as a kid, but I lost it due to a tragic event that I will cover over on Bats from the Grave. But you can still find copies of this one out in the wild.
Sketch! I want to see something with some redeeming social value, something with some beauty and grace.
As of 2024, not only can you find it readily available here on YouTube, and I'll put a link in the description, but there are quite a few copies of Madballs Gross Jokes available over on eBay, and they will cost you between $20 to $60 US. But again, you will need a VHS player to watch them, and those can get a little pricey as it is an outdated format that only a select few of us still hold interest in. Myself included, because here at the labs we actually love the VHS format.
Gee, Arg, this is sort of boring. Do you know any good games we could play?
Well, there's always...
Now we've come to the part of the video where you know I just have to ask. Did you ever get to watch Madballs Gross Jokes as a kid? If so, what was your favorite skit? Who was or is your favorite Madball? Have any comments or favorite memories? Maybe I forgot something. Or maybe you have a suggestion for a future video, or just want to drop in and say hi. Either way, I look forward to hearing from you. That's right, Madballs again. What, you thought we were done with Madballs? Nope. In fact, I have a couple more videos planned, but don't worry, I'll hold off for a bit on those after this one. Did you know we almost got a Madballs animated series in the 1980s? It was a weird time. Madballs are awesome, and I have no special intro for this one because I have talked about it before. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Macabre'Gorium Labs presents School of Boredom Spotlights. My name is Bats, and I'll be your guide today as we discuss today's insane topic with Madballs, Escape from Orb, Madballs of Fire. Commonly known as Madballs Volume 1, Escape from Orb, this 22-minute cartoon was produced by Nelvana and High Tops Video. It would feature traditional 2D animation and several familiar faces, as well as a couple of new ones. It almost felt like a direct contrast to its gross jokes counterpart. The first thing that most people will notice is the theme song. It's a full-on parody of the song Great Balls of Fire by the late, great Jerry Lee Lewis.
Broke my will, but what a thrill. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
This interpretation was, in my opinion, better crafted and had substance. As where Gross Jokes was fun, it had a loose plot and flimsy animation. For example, instead of going through a series of odd animation styles and quick one-line jokes, this one actually had a plot, with the addition of the Madballs being given retractable limbs. So, what was the plot? Well, it had somewhat dark overtones and would take focus on the 7 titular Madballs and their rock band. As the title suggests, the Madballs want to escape from Orb being their home planet. But why would someone want to leave their home planet? Well, it's because of a totalitarian regime that sort of function like other people from history that I won't mention here. But these bad balls, as they are called, and led by the meaner-than-mean Commander Wolfbreath, have a total ban on music and pretty much anything fun. You could probably see why this would be a problem for a group of musicians. Our story opens up with the Madballs being forced to do hard labor for the Bad Balls, and they have some banter setting up the plot. During this back and forth, they reveal they have a band, and they also have a secret concert to play later that night. So indeed, later that night, they do play in a secret club. During this time, Slobulus and Arg have been secretly building a rocket ship out of trash for their escape plan. And finally, they find the last part that they needed. Wow, what a coincidence! So the Madballs are rocking out and everyone is having a blast. Not to mention the song they play is actually a total banger.
You make me dizzy, Mr. Lizzy, the way you rock and roll.
And then they get raided by the Bad Balls, at which point a chase scene begins, and during the escape they use Hornhead to break through a wall to get away, only to be saved by Slobulus and Arg at the very last second. Coincidence? They are so upset by the way life has become on the planet, they decide to board the ramshackle rocket ship with Arg and Slobulus and try their luck. Escape time. Surprisingly, it works, and after some space hijinks, they discover Earth. What the group does not know is that the Bad Balls have followed them to Earth and are hell-bent on bringing them back to Orb. Through cartoonness, they crash land on the roof of an MTV-style studio and find themselves on the stage, where each one winds up with instruments, and they introduce themselves and play the episode's theme song. During what I assume is a copyright-protected performance, the Bad Balls show up and try to capture the Madballs during the song. As soon as they finish the performance, the Bad Balls try and take them back, only to mistakenly call Freakarella a mophead, something they probably should have known better than to do, resulting in her screaming and sending them all flying through the air and landing in their ship. This is where Slobulus does the following, and my favorite line of dialogue from this cartoon is said.
This'll fix 'em. Yeah.
After the crowd stops cheering, the Madballs officially meet Skip and Sandy, who just happen to need a new act. Coincidence? In a typical 1980s businessman fashion, he is fast to have them sign on to be their band manager. And then the episode ends with Slobulus accidentally calling Freakarella a mophead and a one-line joke. Okay, so now we know what, let's look at who was involved. As I mentioned, this one was produced by Nelvana and High Tops Video. But who voiced these goofy balls? Well, starting in no particular order, some of the voice actors from Madballs Gross Jokes will be featured in this one as well, with Screamin' Meamie being voiced again by Jeffrey Bowes, Jerry Creighton would voice Dusty, Keith Hampshire would voice Hornhead, John Stalker would again voice Arg and Skullface, and Dan Hennessy would again voice Slobulus Aurelius. And there would be some differences as well, and I would say new additions, but Escape from Orb came before Gross Jokes. Yeah, I mixed up the order of the uploads. Oh well. In this one, the legend herself, Cree Summer, would voice Freakerella, with Wolf Breath being voiced by Don Franks. And finally, there was Skip, voiced by Christopher Ward, and Sandy, voiced by another MGL favorite, Allison Court. None of the other characters were listed, so I would assume any additional voices were done by the cast and crew of the show and uncredited. Now this show had potential, but it also left us with a laundry list of questions. First, what the hell is going on with Slobulus's voice? This happened to a couple characters during this show, but there is a point where when building the rocket, that Slobulus's voice is completely different.
Hey, Lord, I found one! Now you really look like the Mobcat.
I would assume it was a fun outtake that was used accidentally because after goofing off and recording several different versions, they either forgot to do it the right way or forgot to record that line and moved on, forcing them to use the best of the versions they had available. But I'm likely overthinking this one. Let me know what you think. Does Earth know that aliens exist? So the Madballs crash through a roof and start playing music, and not a single person freaks out. Not at the crash, or the fact that literal monsters are speaking fluent English and happen to be a talented rock band. I mean, don't get me wrong, the message is awesome. We're all different, so who gives a hoot what you look like or where you're from? You know, as long as you have something that someone else can exploit for personal gain. Speaking of which, Skip was really fast to sign them on to be their manager. Could this be the most 1980s thing that any cartoon character has ever done? Personally, I think this show could have been pretty freaking rad if only they would have let it cook a little bit longer and defined the plot more. The character design was on point, the animation wasn't the worst of the era, and I really liked the dark atmosphere and color scheme as well as its use of the music is bad trope. I'm not sure where the plot could have went, but they could have just made it a Saturday morning serial, with each week the group dealing with different various cartoon life problems. Did I just... You know what? I'm totally gonna hashtag that. Hashtag cartoon life problems. Drop it in the comments. Even if this show was just an attempt to give toys continuity in order to sell more Madballs, I truly believe this could have been an awesome series. But you already know what I think, so now I've just gotta ask. Did you ever get to watch Escape from Orb? Who's your favorite Madball? Do you have any comments or fun facts? Maybe I forgot something, or maybe you have a suggestion for a future video, or just want to drop in and say hi. Either way, I look forward to hearing from you. And with that, unfortunately, we've come to the end of another School of Boredom Spotlight video. I've been your host, Bats, and today we took a look at Madballs, Escape from Orb, Madballs, and Fire. Be sure to check back next time because you never know what we have in the store. And as usual, think for yourselves, be excellent to each other, and of course, keep it creepy.
This'll fix 'em. Yeah.